In March 1946, a private citizen stood up in a small American town and described a shadow falling across Europe. He wasn't a president or a general. He was a politician who had just been voted out of office. But when Churchill spoke, everyone listened. A quick reminder of where we left off. By 1948, Stalin had turned Eastern Europe into a ring of communist states. A buffer zone sealed off behind what Churchill was about to make the most famous phrase of the age. The question now was, what was the West going to do about it? This video will explain the first half of that answer. The Iron Curtain speech was in Truman's home state, with the president himself sitting behind him, and in it Churchill gave the new divide of Europe its name. An Iron Curtain has descended across the continent, he said. Behind that line lay the ancient capitals of Eastern Europe, and all of them, he warned, now lay under Soviet control. It was only a metaphor, but it captured something real, that Europe had split in two, and the West could no longer pretend Stalin was just a difficult wartime friend. Churchill called on the democracies to stand together against the spread of communism. Not everyone welcomed it. Some in the West thought he was scaremongering, even trying to start a war. Stalin was furious, comparing the speech to Hitler's racism and calling it an invitation to war on the Soviet Union. But the phrase stuck, and the mood it captured was hardening fast. The turning point came a year later, and it came through a lack of money. In Greece, a civil war was raging between the royalist government and communist rebels. Neighbouring Turkey was under Soviet pressure too. For years it had been Britain propping up both countries, keeping them out of communist hands. But by 1947, Britain was broke. The war had bankrupted it, and a brutal winter had pushed it over the edge. In February 1947, Britain told the United States bluntly that it could no longer afford to defend Greece and Turkey. If someone didn't step in, both might fall to communism. That someone would be America, and the way Truman chose to step in changed everything. In March 1947, Truman went before Congress and asked for $400 million for Greece and Turkey. But he wrapped the request in something far bigger. A whole new way of seeing the world. He told Congress that they faced a choice between two ways of life, one free and the other built on terror and oppression. And Truman declared that it must be the policy of the United States to support free peoples who were resisting attempted subjugation. Wherever communism threatened to spread, in other words, America would help those resisting it. This became known as the Truman Doctrine, and the strategy behind it had a name: containment. The aim was not to invade the communist bloc or to roll it back, it was to contain it, to stop it spreading any further anywhere else in the world. This is the moment the Cold War went global. America had committed itself in peacetime to opposing communism, not just in Europe, but potentially anywhere on Earth. So, was the Truman Doctrine a necessary defence or dangerous escalation? One interpretation was that it was reasonable, even overdue. Stalin had already swallowed Eastern Europe. Greece looked like it was next. If America hadn't drawn a line somewhere, where would Stalin have stopped? Containment simply said, this far and no further. The other interpretation was that it made things worse. By framing the world as a straight fight between freedom and tyranny, Truman turned local problems into global crusades and bound America to oppose communism everywhere, however it arose. To Stalin, the doctrine wasn't defensive at all. It was the world's most powerful country announcing that it now existed to destroy his system. And that confirmed his deepest fears and pushed him to grip his half of Europe tighter still. Both interpretations agree on one thing: that after March 1947, the two sides were no longer drifting apart, they were formally and openly opposed. But Truman knew that words and weapons alone would not stop communism. He believed it grew from something more basic: poverty, hunger and despair. And in a Europe still in ruins, there were plenty of all three. So the next American weapon wouldn't be a doctrine, it would be dollars, billions of them. The next step in the Truman Doctrine became the Marshall Plan.